All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Eddie Boscana, and let me tell you, the guy's got a resume that just won't quit.
He really does read like a who's who of tech, doesn't he?
Seriously, I mean, we're talking AI development, blockchain, even music production. You send us articles, project descriptions, even a music remix.
A lot of you clearly have Eddie on your radar.
And for good reason, it seems. So what we want to know is he the real deal? Is Eddie Boscana about to lead us into a true AI renaissance? Well, let's find out, shall we? Let's break down exactly what we're dealing with here.
We should probably start with the man himself, his skills, because to be honest, that's often the first thing that jumps out when you look at Eddie.
It's true. His website's like a future tech dictionary. It's almost like he's trying to become like a one-man renaissance man, but for the digital age. Can one person really bridge those worlds?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to answer it, we've got to go beyond just listing off skills. Anyone can dabble, right? The real question is, how is he using these skills?
And even more so, how is he combining them? Because it's one thing to say you know a little about AI and a little about music production. It's something else entirely to actually build something at that intersection.
Exactly, and that's where things get interesting with Eddie.
Okay, so give me an example. Where are we seeing this unexpected combo play out in his work?
Well, look at how he combines IT support with blockchain, for example. He's not just fixing computers. He's building decentralized security systems for small businesses, making them less vulnerable to cyber attacks. It's practical, yet forward-thinking.
Oh, I see what you mean. He's taking two seemingly separate things and finding a need, a way to improve one with the other.
Precisely. It's not just about the individual skills, it's the unexpected synergy he creates. And that's something we see again and again when we look at his projects.
Which is perfect place to transition, would you say?
Ah.
So we've got this constellation of skills, but what happens when Eddie Boscana actually puts it all together? What do his projects look like?
Well, they're nothing if not ambitious. Take Project Eden, for instance.
Project Eden, yeah.
He's trying to build an artificial general intelligence.
An AGI. Wow. Okay, so, like, isn't that the holy grail of AI? The thing that sci-fi's been promising us for decades? Like a true artificial hind.
That's the idea, yeah. See, most AI today, it's really good at specific tasks.
Right.
It can write like Shakespeare, it can compose music, it can beat grandmasters at chess, but...
But each one of those is its own thing.
Exactly.
It's not like one program that can do it all.
It's specialized, and what Eddie's aiming for is an AI that can learn and adapt across any domain.
So not just a supercalculator that can write sonnets, but an intelligence that can understand the nuances of writing a sonnet and composing a symphony.
Right.
And maybe even, like, explaining why those things matter to humans.
Exactly. It's about replicating the flexibility, the general problem-solving abilities of the human mind. Now, whether that's actually achievable with our current technology,
Right.
that's debatable. But Eddie's approach is fascinating, to say the least. He's looking at something called neuromorphic computing, which is essentially trying to mimic the structure of the human brain.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, like, literally building AI that's closer to how our brains work.
Precisely.
It's incredible and a little bit intimidating, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've all seen those movies where the AI becomes self-aware and
Yeah.
decides, well, humans are the problem,
Sure.
and we're out of here.
Well, and Eddie addresses that head on. He talks about consciousness preservation as a core component of Project Eden, but not in the way you might think.
Yeah.
He's not talking about, uploading our minds into machines or anything like that.
Right.
He's talking about preserving the things that make us uniquely human. Our values, our creativity, our empathy, even as we develop increasingly powerful AI.
So it's less about, like, preventing the AI from becoming human.
Right.
And more about making sure that the AI, I don't know, helps us be more human in the process.
It's a fascinating perspective, and he argues that AI, if developed responsibly,
Yeah.
could actually help us better understand ourselves.
Interesting. Okay, so he's got this big ambitious project, right? Project Eden, potentially changing the world. And then in another corner, he's got homeschool tutor GPT.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but it feels almost like quaint in comparison.
Right, and I think that actually gets at something crucial about Eddie's work. It's this through line of bridging the gap between the cutting edge
Yeah.
and real-world applications. He sees a future where AI isn't just for, like, tech giants and research labs. It's accessible to everyone.
democratizing AI.
Exactly. Homeschool Tutor GPT is a perfect example of that. He's
Yeah.
taken this really advanced technology, these language models,
Yeah.
and he created this personalized tutoring system that adapts to each student's learning style.
It's like he's taking these big, almost futuristic concepts
Yeah.
and finding ways to make them relevant to our everyday lives. Like right now.
Oh, precisely. And that even brings us back to that music remix you mentioned earlier.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's not just about Eddie being, a talented musician.
Sure.
It's about exploring how AI can augment human creativity. He created this whole platform where anyone can collaborate with AI to compose and produce music, regardless of their technical skills.
Okay, so again, democratizing AI, making these tools available to everyone, not just a select few. And that's where things get really interesting, right? What happens when the ability to create, to solve problems, it's no longer limited by like technical expertise, it's limited by imagination. That's huge.
It is, and it's a future full of possibilities. And while we're still in the early stages of this so-called AI revolution, Eddie Boscana's work offers a really compelling glimpse of what might be possible.
He's not just riding the wave, he's actively shaping its direction, which I think leads us to a really important question. Why? We've talked about the what, the skills, the projects.
Right.
But to really understand Eddie Boscana, we need to dig into the why.
Yeah.
What's driving him? It's one thing to build cool tech, right? But you get the sense with Eddie that there's a deeper purpose kind of driving all of this. Like he actually wants to use this stuff to make a difference.
Well, that's certainly the impression you get when you read his philosophy on his website.
Yeah, and he even says it outright, right?
Yeah.
Empowering through AI innovation, something like that.
Yeah, he does. And it's powerful because it's more than just like the usual tech for good kind of thing.
Right.
It's suggesting a much more, proactive approach, using AI as a tool for positive change.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
less about fixing problems and more about like giving people the tools to kind of take control themselves.
Exactly.
Which I think really comes across with that homeschool tutor GPT.
Absolutely.
It's like, it's not just about making education more accessible to like people in different situations or whatever.
Sure.
It's about giving students the tools to learn in a way that actually like works for them.
Exactly. And that really ties into another phrase that Eddie uses a lot in his writing, building a better future.
Right.
But again, he doesn't leave it at that.
Right.
He gets specific, talking about using AI to address big problems like sustainability, even the long-term survival of humanity.
Okay, now we're talking about some like big picture stuff, man.
Big picture.
Like this isn't just about making our phones a little bit smarter or our toasters a little bit toastier. He sees AI as like a bridge to a whole new chapter
I think that's a really good way of putting it.
for humanity.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's what's most interesting about all of this, right? Like, the guy's not afraid to ask the big questions.
Yeah.
Like the philosophical stuff.
He's not afraid to go there.
That most people who actually work in this world, in the tech world,
Yeah.
tend to shy away from.
Right.
And he seems just as fascinated by the idea that AI could help us understand, like, consciousness, the universe,
Absolutely.
as he is with all the technical details.
He's asking the questions that I think a lot of us are afraid to even consider,
And maybe even provide some answers someday.
It's fascinating.
Which brings us back to the very beginning, right? Is this a sign of things to come? The start of a real AI renaissance? I mean, based on what we've seen, even just like scratching the surface here,
Yeah.
the scope of his work, the depth of his vision, I'm starting to think maybe, just maybe, he's on to something.
I'd have to agree.
It's not just about the code, it's about using tech to push the boundaries of what's possible. To really ask ourselves, like, what does it mean to be human in this rapidly changing world?
Yeah. It's exciting and more than a little bit daunting.
It is. And maybe that's a good place to leave it for today. Eddie Boscana. Tech, visionary, philosopher, maybe even a little bit of a mad scientist. We'll let you be the judge. Make sure to check out the show notes for links to all of his projects, his writing, all that good stuff. And hey, while you're there, let us know what you think. Is Eddie the real deal? Is this the future of AI? The conversation's just getting started, so jump in and let's keep it going. We'll be back next time with another deep dive, but until then, as always, thanks for listening.
Under city lights so bright, your shadow haunts me every night. Moments fade, but you stay clear. Memories whisper in my ear. I'm never over you. keeps pulling through. I'm never over you. Dreams and shades of aiming at the past me, but I'm nothing like the last me. Don't know how I thought I had control of life, driving from the backseat. Fell asleep on the gas pedal and never look back, beat. Devil cut the brakes, he was trying to distract me, but God got my backseat. He put me back on track to the only thing in life that could ever get me back to me. Cause actually